years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
8:59 here at News 88.7. Good morning. Gulf Freeway headed out around Clear Lake City Boulevard. Reports of a new accident. Another hot one today, 93 for the high, 50% chance of some showers, mainly after lunch when the humidity and the heat's the worst. 78 for the low tonight, mid-90s and sunshine Friday going into Independence Day Saturday. Slight chance of rain Sunday, 40% chance of rain for Monday. Right now we're sitting 85, Pasadena 86 here at the University of Houston. Listen anywhere we're streaming live online. Check out the app as well. News updated 24/7. KUHF Houston News 88.7. A service of the University of Houston. It's 9 o'clock.
Parades, fireworks, concerts, and other celebrations are planned all over Greater Houston this weekend as we mark America's 250th birthday. I'm Craig Cohen. Today on Houston Matters, what's happening around town and how law enforcement's getting ready for it.
Houston Matters with Craig Cohen is a production of Houston Public Media with support from Baylor College of Medicine.
Also this hour, Shirley Greenwood sings about being proud to be an American, but what about Houstonian pride? Before we celebrate America at 250, we want to know what makes you proud to be a Houstonian. Let us know at 713-440-8870 or talk@houstonmatters.org. Then we learn about an exhibit celebrating Texas aviation history, and we preview the latest episode of After the Flood. We'll start with a news update from NPR and News 88.7. Stay with us.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. A massive Russian drone and missile attack on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, has killed at least 18 people and injured another 90. NPR's Joanna Kakissis reports from Kyiv. Russia says these attacks are in retaliation for Ukrainian strikes on Russian oil infrastructure.
The Ukrainian Air Force said it shot down most of the Russian drones, but that a third of the missiles got through. Writing on social media, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said at least 20 sites around the city were hit. Most were apartment buildings. In a statement, Russia's Ministry of Defense said the overnight strikes on Kyiv were aimed at military and energy sites. Russia is facing fuel shortages after weeks of long-range drone strikes by Ukraine on oil depots and refineries. U.S.-led talks to end Russia's war on Ukraine have stalled as the Trump administration has focused on the Iran war. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
In the U.S., stocks opened higher this morning as the Labor Department reported a slowdown in job growth last month. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped more than 340 points in early trading.
U.S. employers added just 57,000 jobs in June, a marked downshift from the two previous months. Revised figures also show that hiring in April and May was weaker than initially reported. Healthcare and construction companies continue to add jobs at a modest pace last month, but restaurants and retailers cut workers. The unemployment rate inched down, but only because hundreds of thousands of people stopped looking for work. Average wages in June were up 3.5% from a year ago, but that's not enough to keep pace with stubborn inflation. The weaker-than-expected jobs report may make the Federal Reserve more cautious about raising interest rates as it tries to bring prices under control. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
People are poring over President Trump's financial disclosure form, released only this week. It's nearly 1,000 pages long, and it says President Trump and his family took in more than $1 billion last year. About half of that came from his family's interests in cryptocurrency. President Trump says he does not personally handle his own investments, and he says that means he doesn't have any conflicts of interest. But NPR's Linda Kenyon says Trump's critics disagree.
Congressman Jason Crow called the president's crypto earnings another example of what he termed grift and corruption. The Colorado Democrat also pointed out that Trump on Wednesday was taking his first flight on a brand new Air Force One, a gift from a foreign government, Qatar, valued at more than $400 million and will stay in the Trump realm when he leaves office. The White House says the aircraft will be a donation to Trump's presidential library.
NPR's Linda Kenyon reporting. This is NPR.
Support for NPR comes from Schwab, offering the Schwab Teen Investor Account. where teens can gain hands-on investing experience. It's co-owned by parents and teens, so parents can monitor the account while teens learn how to invest. More at schwab.com. This is NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Matt Harab. The man who says his Tesla was in self-driving mode when it slammed into a home in Katy, killing a 76-year-old woman, is now charged with manslaughter. Michael Butler was booked into the Harris County Jail on Wednesday yesterday. Tesla has disputed the claim that its Model 3 car was in self-driving mode, saying data shows the accelerator was pressed all the way down and the car reached a speed of 73 miles per hour before hitting the home. Galveston officials are gearing up for the 4th of July weekend and asking visitors to prepare as well. Our Juliana Washburn tells us it's one of the busiest weekends for the island.
As hundreds of thousands of visitors descend on Galveston Island for the 4th of July holiday, Galveston Beach Patrol says beachgoers should check the colored flags on lifeguard stands before getting in the water and avoid jetties or piers in the water. Austin Kerwin is the chief of Galveston Island Beach Patrol.
So you've got to stay very far away from the no swimming areas and very far away from anything that sticks out in the water, because that is where all the rip currents and currents form.
Kerwin says Beach Patrol will have staff covering all of the island's busiest areas throughout the weekend. From the Galveston County Bureau, I'm Juliana Washburn, News 88.7.
There are several events happening this weekend in the Houston area for the 4th of July holiday. Stay here. We'll tell you more about them just ahead on Houston Matters, plus what local authorities are doing to keep the celebration safe. The U.S. men's soccer team is advancing to the World Cup round of 16 after beating Bosnia and Herzegovina 2-0 last night. It's the first time the United States has made it so far in more than 20 years. Here in Houston, fans found the moment as one to celebrate, not only for the team, but for the U.S.'s 250 years of independence. Cornell Sims is a 6-year Army veteran who was at the FIFA Fan Festival for last night's game.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing what people of the world can do together. Like I said, over one small leather soccer ball.
The United States won't play on July 4th, but Houston will host its final World Cup match that day. The U.S. will play Belgium coming up on Monday, July 6th. I'm Matt Harab, News 88.7.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on News 88.7 and on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. Coming up this hour, before the focus shifts to America's 250th birthday this weekend, we want you to tell us what makes you proud to be a Houstonian. I mean, the show's called Houston Matters, after all. What about Greater Houston are you most proud of? Call or text 713-440-8870. Comment on our live video stream, again, on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. You can email us at talk@houstonmatters.org, and we'll get to that in just a little while. First, though, let us preview some of the many celebrations that will take place to mark 250 years of independence with the help of Houston Public Media's Kyle McLenagan. Kyle, good morning.
Morning.
Of course, every year here, there is Freedom Over Texas. What are some of the highlights of the city's celebration at Eleanor Tinsley Park and at Sam Houston Park?
Yeah, so this year's Freedom Over Texas will feature several concerts leading up to an approximately 20-minute-long fireworks show. And country music artist and 4-time Grammy Award winner Keith Urban is actually headlining the event, so he'll perform right before the fireworks. And the event starts at 4:45 p.m. on Saturday, and the fireworks show is set for around 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, and they usually, obviously they wait for the sun to go down.
That's
the key there. Down in Galveston, there will be more fireworks, also a parade along Seawall Boulevard, which we know about all that.
Yeah, so the parade will begin around 6 p.m. and travel west along the Seawall Boulevard, starting at 23rd Street and ending at 53rd Street. So the parade is expected to end at approximately 8 p.m. and will be followed by a fireworks display at 9:15 p.m. So for parking for this event, there's paid parking along the seawall and at the Galveston Island Historic Pleasure Pier parking lot. But street parking will also be available in nearby neighborhoods depending on what signs are posted for if you can park there or not.
I live in Fort Bend County. I want to know what's going on in Fort Bend County.
Yeah, so there's a few things. The city of Rosenberg will be hosting a Saturday celebration with fireworks, music, and more. This event will be at the Seaboard Creek Nature Park and will run from 6 to 10 p.m. With a fireworks show at around 9:30. Sugarland is also hosting its own fireworks show called Red, White, and Boom on 4th of July. at Constellation Field. So this event will last from 6 to 10 p.m., featuring live music and activities for children, and of course a fireworks show. But before the fireworks, the George Ranch in Fort Bend County will be hosting an event at the ranch in Richmond. So throughout the day, they're going to have pieces of the Declaration of Independence hidden throughout the historical homes. And so children, if they find a piece, will get free candy from the gift shop.
Okay, so part scavenger hunt, part National Treasure sequel, it sounds like. Fireworks and concerts aside, a smaller, quieter event this weekend has run into a bit of a snag. What's going on with tree planting in Manville that we should know about?
Yeah, so on July 4th, residents of Manville are going to be hosting a tree planting event to celebrate 250 years. They're going to plant 250 trees. But last week, the city announced that a killdeer nest, which is like a bird that has its nest on the ground, which is kind of unique, was discovered in the tree planting location. So the city has kind of taped off that bird to protect it because it is stubborn and doesn't want to move for the upcoming event. But they're still having it. They've just, if you go to their Facebook page, you can see they've taped off this bird's little nest in the middle of a field.
So will they be planting trees basically all the way around it? Is
Yeah,
that kind of what it's going to look like?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Anything else to keep in mind this weekend about weather, parking, other logistics, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so there will be a FIFA game on July 4th, so there may be some traffic when that's going on. And then, of course, it's going to be hot, so if you're outside, just stay cool and stay hydrated.
All right. Houston Public Media's Kyle McLenagan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This weekend's fireworks, concerts, traffic, crowds, and the rest mean it could be a busy weekend for law enforcement across the region. That includes for the folks that are at Harris County Precinct 1, Constable Alan Rosen and his officers. Constable, welcome to Houston Matters.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's start with fireworks because they're kind of everywhere.
They are.
In addition to the big shows organized and sanctioned by local municipalities, there are always others shooting off fireworks themselves, often dangerously so, often illegally. Maybe we should start there. What is and isn't legal surrounding fireworks, and how much of that depends on where you are?
It's absolutely where you are. And in the unincorporated area of the county, they're usually permissible. Inside the city, they're not permissible. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission told us that there were 13,000 people injured nationally by fireworks, 1,300 with sparklers. So I know we allow our children to play with the little sparklers that you would think wouldn't be a problem, but 1,300 children and people were hurt by the sparklers. So they're not permissible inside the city limits. They are permissible as long as there's not a ban burn within the county in the unincorporated areas. So people that go to the fireworks stands and buy their own fireworks, those fireworks stands are only in the unincorporated areas of the county. And it's highly recommended not to go and buy your fireworks in the unincorporated area and drive back into the city with them. The fire marshal and people like that are out there, and they are going to be issuing citations for that.
Yeah, and if you live in other counties around the region, I guess you really should find out before you purchase or fire off fireworks exactly what your given municipality calls for, right?
Absolutely. Usually municipalities don't allow it. It's just by city ordinance.
That doesn't keep people from doing it,
No, you're right. We have it just like you're not allowed to shoot a gun off, where people sometimes shoot off guns, celebratory guns, usually during the new year. And, of course, that bullet goes up and it must come down.
Yes.
And unfortunately, people get hurt doing that as well.
Where does your office draw the line on enforcement when it comes to fireworks?
Fireworks, we work collaboratively with our fire marshal, the Harris County Fire Marshal's office. And, the city of Houston also has, inspectors that go out. So we work with them. If they call us and say, hey, we need to pull over a car, for instance, our marked units will often get involved with pulling over a vehicle that may have gone and bought the fireworks in the unincorporated and came back into the city. So both of those, it's more of a collaborative effort. Certainly, we're not the fireworks police. That really is the job of a fire marshal. But they call on us all the time, and we work collaboratively with them year round, not just during the 4th of July.
You mentioned injuries in particular when it comes to those sparklers. What is the most common mistake that you see people make with fireworks?
Thinking that they're not going to get hurt, that they get really close and they're lighting them off, or they jokingly aim at people and have fireworks wars back and forth where they may shoot bottle rockets at each other and, more prankster stuff. But there's been I know people personally that have been very severely injured, lost eyes, and things of that nature because they were playing around inappropriately with fireworks. It's just, there's so much, as we've already mentioned, there's, the Freedom Over Texas. Everywhere you go, usually a municipality has their own fireworks. Go take your family and go celebrate with your community together and celebrate the 4th of July. Not a huge fan of the private fireworks stuff. Just because people can get injured.
The public shows are better anyway.
They are.
I mean, come on.
They are.
Any suggestions for protecting your own home from someone setting off fireworks that might end up on your property?
You can obviously have your sprinkler on and things of that nature that helps, keep your grounds moist, if you have a lot of trees, just kind of keep things, wet and moist.
I know somebody keeps a bucket of water outside just in case.
That's true. Have a good fire hose ready or hose. But hopefully your neighbors won't do that, especially inside the city limits. And I'm not 100% certain there's not a ban burn, so I would highly recommend people look at their county officials' website. And ensure that there's no ban.
Yeah. Drunk driving is, of course, a problem all the time, but I imagine your enforcement really kicks up on Independence Day weekend. What should Houstonians expect to see from you and other law enforcement?
We're going to be out, and we're going to be looking for those that are either intoxicated or impaired in any way. We do it, we are doing a lot of it year-round. Year-round, no refusal. So, you're going to get a blood draw. It's just not worth it. It's thousands of dollars in the event that for a first offense, for you to hire a lawyer and do everything. It's so much cheaper to use one of the commercial, the Uber rides, the Lyft, people, things like that. Have a friend. I always say to people, you decide what you're going to wear to go out. You decide who you're going to go out with. You're going to decide where you're going to go. Last thing that you need to prepare for is make sure if you're going to drink that you have a way to get around. It's a very simple exercise. Friends, look out for each other, and don't let somebody drive. Put them in an Uber. It's just, $20, $30, $40 is a lot less than being arrested by us, having your car towed, and you having to go through the criminal justice system.
Big events like some we just heard about are fun, but they are also complicated for families to navigate, especially with small children in tow, especially on what's going to be a pretty hot weekend. Any safety tips you can offer? Any smart ways to plan to attend parades, fireworks shows, and the rest?
Yeah, just do a little homework before you go to the event. I can tell you that law enforcement, because of FIFA, we have been in planning, for a very long time. And in this weekend in particular, you have an Astros game, you have parades, you have the last FIFA game, you got Freedom Over Texas. There's a lot going on in our city, and law enforcement knew that. We got to see the schedule of everything that was going to go on locally. So highly prepared, even maybe overly prepared, which we should always be overly prepared. Be aware of your surroundings. Make a plan. Sit down, make a plan. Decide where you're going to go, how you're going to do it, how you're going to get there, where you're going to park, where the experts tell you should park. Try to find, a lot of people are using the rail system to get to the FIFA events, and they park way away from the actual NRG Stadium, and they ride the train in. So, there's a lot of different ways. It's been very successful, and so just plan, look ahead. Look at where the experts are telling you should park. Make sure that you keep, an eye on your children. Being aware of your surrounding is the single most important thing that you can do to avoid being a victim of a crime.
To that end, just being aware this weekend, if we see something concerning, unsafe fireworks, reckless driving, boating even for that matter. Remember, we've got folks down in Galveston celebrating. What's the best option for contacting law enforcement, whether we're talking about your jurisdiction or another?
Yeah, call 911. Call, know your local law enforcement's numbers. Some of them have independent dispatch centers that, you can call and get a real fast response. I'm very proud of, we have a very quick response time at our office, very quick to highly emergent calls, to calls that are less severe. But call law enforcement. That's our job. Our job is to go out and detect crime, prevent crime, keep people safe. And all I can tell you is we signed up for this. So don't feel it's an imposition. Don't feel that you're bothering law enforcement. That's our job. And I always tell that to people because I hear it all the time. Well, I didn't want to bother law enforcement. That's our job. Please call us.
Alan Rosen is the constable for Harris County Precinct 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next, while weekend celebrations will be about American pride, this show is called Houston Matters, so we want to know what makes you proud to be a Houstonian. Let us know now. 713-440-8870. Talk at HoustonMatters.org or comment on our YouTube video stream, and we'll discuss as Houston Matters continues.
PBS Drama on HBO.
You count on Houston Public Media. That's why you're here right now. Take the next step and become a new member today. Every gift makes a difference. And with a gift of $5 a month or more, you'll receive PBS Passport, a member benefit that lets you stream more of the shows you love anytime. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. Join as a new member today at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
And from Baylor College of Medicine. With over 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
From Discovery Green, 12-acre park in downtown Houston, this summer, Discovery Green's presenting concerts featuring music from around the world, Sundays, 5 to 7 p.m. More information at discoverygreen.com.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Lee Greenwood saying that he's proud to be an American. Well, technically, he also recorded a version about being proud to be a Canadian with a lot of the same lyrics. But, with the holiday weekend nearly here, the concept of American pride is on a lot of people's minds, including some who aren't necessarily feeling all that proud to be an American, and they're free to have those feelings. This show is called Houston Matters, and so while others may debate the merits of patriotism and where it skirts or crosses the line into jingoism and how politics enters into all of that, we are going to save that discussion for elsewhere and focus instead on what makes you proud to be a Houstonian. When you talk to friends in far-flung places about living here, what do you point to that fills you with pride? Our diversity, our resiliency, our food, something else? Let us know at talk@HoustonMatters.org. Call or text 713-440-8870. You can also comment on our live video stream on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. And as we field those thoughts, we also welcome the insights of two proud Houstonians, author ReShonda Tate and journalist Katherine Shilcutt, who, by the way, will also guest host Hello Houston today from 11 to 1. ReShonda, Katherine.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi, Craig.
All right. Again, as we chat, we want to know what makes you proud to be a Houstonian. What about Greater Houston do you take pride in? Let us know. Talk at HoustonMatters.org, 713-440-8870. I guess first, technically, we should take a moment to define Houstonian.
Oh.
As far as I'm concerned, if you live here or if you care about Houston, if you've got a connection to Houston, you're a Houstonian.
I agree.
Not everybody defines it that same way, though.
Okay, I used to tell people, as a native Houstonian, I used to say, if you lived through your first hurricane, you're a Houstonian now.
Yeah.
But the older I get, the less I don't want that for people. I don't want anyone to live through a hurricane. So now I'm on your side of things. If you live here, you're a Houstonian. Welcome.
I always say I'm a native Houstonian, though I didn't move here until I was 10 years old. But Houston made me who I am, so I am definitely a Houstonian.
I will say one of the things that does make me proud to be a Houstonian is that the moment I moved here, I was embraced by this community in a way that I had not experienced living other places. When you there's some places, it's not a knock on people there, but there is a sense in some communities that if you haven't lived there for 3 or 4 generations, well, you're in a different category. You're a transplant, an outsider. You're worming your way in. But I don't get that impression, or have not over the years here in Houston.
I completely agree with you, honestly. I mean, I've been here 45 years. I've seen a lot of change. There wasn't a beltway when I was growing up, but what has not changed is the welcoming spirit of this city. And I think that's so interesting that even though we've grown so much, we still remain a very warm, embracing, non-insular community.
Yeah, I was in New York one time and I fell on a sidewalk, and there had to be 100 people like, get out of the way. and they were aggravated with me for falling as they stepped over me. If I fell in Houston, there would be 17 people helping me up, calling the ambulance, calling the police. So Houston is just a different type of flavor.
All right. Aside from that, what else makes you proud to be a Houstonian?
For me, it's the possibility. You can see a billionaire on one side of you. You can see a barber on the other. And it's all about dreams and possibilities. There doesn't seem to be limitations here in Houston. If you have a dream, people are there like, let's see how we can make that happen.
Katherine?
I agree. I completely agree once again. And also the sense that you can do anything here. Like, not just in the sense of possibility, but if you're bored on a Saturday, no. There's always something to do. There's always some group to get involved in. There are easy ways to make friends. I feel like, again, when I hear folks that I'm friends with that have moved to other cities, they tell me how hard it is to find friends. And I don't feel like that's the case here. You can move here and find your people.
We have some listeners who are offering some suggestions, examples of just what you're talking about. We received texts. One saying, I'm proud of the world-class Houston Ballet, the Houston Symphony, and Alley Theater, and our award-winning Houston Gilbert and Sullivan Society. Another one noted Houston's theater scene. Noah on our YouTube channel says, I'm so proud of Houston and its cultural representation and overall ability to embrace and celebrate our differences together.
That's what I love. Here, diversity isn't just a slogan. It is part of our everyday life. I mean, it's how we live. It's who you sit next to at church, who owns your favorite restaurant. The diversity is just one of the major things I love about this city.
Rowan, in fact, says that. I'm proud of our diversity. It's easy to take it for granted until you go to other cities.
Yes.
Brandon says, so proud of how much Houston has grown to allow for people who aren't even Texan or American to be a part of this city. So that gets back to what we were talking about before. More YouTube comments. It's been so fun seeing the people visiting from other countries. Oops, I lost that comment. There it is. And trying our food. There's so much love for and from our Houston restaurants. I'm proud of our Houston fusion food.
I will say I'm spoiled when I go to other cities now. The food is just not the same. It's just not the same. You can go anywhere in Houston and find a good meal, and you don't have to pay a lot of money for it either.
Yeah, I write books, so I have tons of books. I have 54 books. Probably 40 of them take place in Houston. And that's one of the things that I just love doing, is showing the world all the great things about our city.
Colby's proud of Houston's food, especially Tex-Mex. And Colby says, looking at you, Mama Juanita's on 242 and I-45. All right. On Instagram, some Houstonians noted the following that makes them proud. Commitment to diversity, a yearn for a better life, so many small businesses here starting from nothing, and resilience through challenges, natural disasters, political attacks. Another writes, we love Houston, especially the people. So many incredible communities have made this city what it is today. Still another says, choosing to lean into the work of seeing the city succeed because it's your home too. So that's a piece of pride as well, as the idea of, well, I want to see success around me because I've chosen to live here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's funny, when you were talking about the food, I went to Mexico once and I asked for queso and they brought me, I was like, what is this? And they said, no, this is real queso. And I said, no, the Tex-Mex that we get, the yellow stuff, that's the real queso.
That's right. It's not that nuclear yellow. Something's wrong. No doubt some Houstonians may feel economically, socially, politically, or otherwise that what they want to see these days is not happening here. And so they may not feel much of a sense of pride about Greater Houston. We have an example, James writing, we don't have a lot to be proud about, not lately. 1 million in poverty in Greater Houston. A good day is when the heat index is below 110. Climate change would not have been possible without Houston. What do you say to those who, like James, just don't feel much Houstonian pride?
I mean,
these days?
I do. There are times I can understand that, but I am a glass half full person. There will always be room for improvement in this city, but I choose to focus on the positives while trying to change some of those negative things about our city. But I don't wake up in the morning and think about all that Houston isn't. I think about all that Houston is.
I'm in the same camp. I completely agree. I mean, it's very easy to be cynical, and then cynicism can very easily turn into apathy. And then where are we? You know, like nothing is perfect. You have to look at the place where you are and say, I accept this place. I am proud of this place despite its imperfections. And that means that there are places that I can help it improve.
Well, let's take a couple calls. We have Julie on the west side. Julie, what makes you proud to be a Houstonian?
From what I've been hearing, what goes on around here, I'm proud that we have Mattress Mac, Houston Matters, all who help us to all these different problems we've had, and the Cajun Navy. They came here to help us during Hurricane Alicia. Hurricane Harvey. We helped during Hurricane Alicia. I did not know about that for a long time.
All right. Thanks very much for the call. And we were talking about resiliency earlier. I think back to Harvey in 2017. There was a lot of pride expressed by Houstonians then about our ability to recover from that disaster.
Yeah.
As the years go on, though, you also see that sometimes there are delays in that recovery. There are people who get left behind in that recovery, and things like flood mitigation projects are slow to develop. Does it, over time, sour some of that sense of civic pride?
It doesn't for me because I choose to look at the people that did step up. But what I'd like us to do is still hold the negative parts of the city accountable, the failures that we may have, to still work on that, but don't let it define us.
Yeah. I think, being proud of something doesn't mean that you're completely naive, right? And turning a blind eye to the parts that need, improvements.
Let's go next to Susan in Briar Forest. Susan, what makes you proud to be a Houstonian?
Well, I'm looking at a long-term, lots of kind of pride. But right this morning, I'm thinking of KUHF for two reasons. Number one reason, way back, there used to be problems with the coverage that you could succeed in, and you all spread out however you did your technology. You made sure that all these cities now that are around Houston, that are part of Houston now, could get excellent coverage. And so we all consider ourselves Houstonians, and you consider us all Houstonians because we all get coverage from KUHF. And number two, when the federal government took money away from National Public Radio, Houstonians did step up. Mm-hmm. And that's my understanding, that we really did an outstanding job of supporting the station and not relying on the federal government.
Yeah, thank you very much for the call and for the thoughts. And yes, that is absolutely true. We have speaking of resiliency, a resiliency fund that we have been raising to make up that gap in the federal funding that we lost, about $4.4 million over 2 years. And we have raised, I think we're down into like several $100,000 left to raise. That's it.
That's
which
amazing.
is an amazing response from all of Greater Houston. And yes, part of that, no doubt, has to do with folks from a variety of communities. Geographically, we cover such a huge metro area, and the fact that we're able to get our signal out to them is important. We also, of course, have a Fort Bend County Bureau and a Galveston County Bureau, and we're always trying to look to expand our news coverage geographically as well. Thank you very much for that call.
You know, as managing editor of The Defender, one of the things that I love is the diversity of being able to tell stories of Houstonians who rarely make headlines. We have so many people doing great things, and I love that as a Houstonian, that I feel a responsibility to share those stories. And the stories are endless.
Greater Houston is also constantly transforming. And I'm wondering whether that is something to either have a sense of pride in, or does it make it harder at times to define what it is we're proud about? Because, well, it's always in flux a little bit. What do you think?
Well, I live in Missouri City, and so I'm still Houston. And I think that, when we say Houstonian, we're talking about, you live in the Woodlands, but you're a Houstonian.
Yeah. Yes, once again, I agree. I put this out on Instagram not too long ago talking about how the Houston MSA is 10,000 square miles. So it is including people in Pearland, people in Galveston, all over the place. You might live there, but you are also a Houstonian. And I feel like, yes, the sprawl is a difficult thing to tackle on an everyday basis. It can keep us separate. But I think at the same time, it's this awe-inspiring thing that, like, despite it, we are all still part of the same fabric of this community.
Yeah, just to underscore the geographic extremes of this metro area, we had a conversation once where we were trying to define when are you out of town, where are you out of town, and the best we could come up with at the time, I think still it does not apply anymore, which was if you passed a Buc-ee's, you're probably out of town.
Not anymore, though.
Not anymore.
You're out of town when you hit Dallas.
There you go.
I like that. Sarah says, so proud of our children's museum. I've been going since I was a kid, and now I take my young daughter. That's cool.
Yeah. Our museum district, that alone, my gosh. I mean, that's a thing to be proud of.
Right. There's much here, too, that Houston has to offer, and maybe that's the way to kind of wrap our conversation, is that all of it is worth being proud of.
Yeah.
Proud Houstonians, ReShonda Tate and Katherine Shilcutt. Katherine again will join Ernie Manous on Hello Houston today from 11 to 1 on News 88.7. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
And just ahead, how Texas has influenced aviation history as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
I'm Ernie Manous on the next Hello Houston.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
Texas family owned since 1962, offering cool sips, snacks, and more to help beat the heat for a cooler summer. Details at specsonline.com. The fun starts here.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston system, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Earlier this week, we talked about the role the state of Texas played in the Old West, a period in American and Texas history that really ended at the start of the 20th century. That's when the Industrial Revolution gave rise to dramatic developments in, among other things, transportation, like the first assembly line cars and later planes. A new exhibit at Lone Star Flight Museum explores the state's role in getting human beings not just around, but off the ground. Made in Texas, 116 years of aviation history showcases the people, aircraft, companies, and milestones that helped make Texas a major force in aviation and later aerospace. It's been created to help celebrate America's 250th birthday and features everything from historic military aircraft and airline memorabilia to stories of the Tuskegee Airmen, NASA's connections to Houston, even the future of flight. Houston Matters producer Laura Walker spoke with Lone Star Flight Museum Chief Operating Officer Jerry Scott about the exhibit and why Texas aviation history deserves a place alongside some of the state's better-known legacies.
In conjunction with America 250, we wanted to feature and highlight the 116 years of Texas aviation. Texas is very rich in history with aircraft and people and companies that have found Texas as a home and utilized Texas. Here at Ellington Field, Ellington is actually began in 1917. We wanted to feature the rich history of Texas aviation through the years, including a lot of the airlines. We also have a lot of aircraft that were manufactured here in Texas. Some of our own that we feature, the North American T-6 Texan. We have the Anderson Greenwood AG-14, which was manufactured here in Houston, actually. We have on display right now, on loan to us, a North American P-51D, very iconic aircraft of World War II. Gorgeous airplane, and one that we're very proud to display. We also have a lot of the NASA memorabilia. We have here the nose of the shuttle that was used for training. It's called the Crew Compartment Trainer, or CCT. This one is the CCT-2. Boeing built the first one, and this one was built by a local company. And then there was a CCT-FT, which was the full trainer, had the whole cargo bay, and that one is in Seattle. We have on display as well the NASA SMSMB, which is the Shuttle Motion Base Simulator that every commander and pilot that trained throughout the shuttle program from STS-1 till the end of the program, STS-135, actually trained in this simulator. So we have a lot of NASA artifacts and a lot of aircraft to tell. And we focus on the history of Texas to inspire these young kids as they come through the museum. Our focus is to inspire those kids that we need people to train and be educated. We need not just pilots, we need air traffic controllers and maintainers, engineers and designers, and business people to manage all those things, and just across the board. And so we want to show all of these kids what is possible and what they can see and experience. We don't tell them that they're learning, we just show them they're having fun. And then hopefully they remember that and want to come back.
When people think of Texas, they often think of oil, ranching, or space exploration. Why do you think aviation deserves a place in that conversation?
Very good question. And I believe that because there was so much technology developed here in manufacturing and the military bases, civilian training, a lot of things a lot of firsts. We also have a tremendous number of individuals that have ties to Texas, that have set records, have been to the moon, have been a lot of things. Texas played a key role in the manufacturing, the training, and the development for throughout aviation. Bell Helicopter, for example, up in Dallas area in Arlington, Mooney Aircraft from Kerrville. Texas had a major role in training and development of aircraft and personnel through the years.
What can visitors expect when they walk through the exhibit? Are there standout artifacts, photographs, or aircrafts that tell the story in a particularly powerful way?
Absolutely. The first thing that visitors see when they walk in the front door, and I always find it fascinating, kids and adults will stop and look up. There's a red pits hanging from the ceiling, inverted as an acrobatic aircraft, right as you walk in. We have 2 hangars full of aircraft. Good number of them still fly. We do a lot of flights in them. Our B-25, we flew 2 Saturdays ago, 3 flights in it actually. And in our hallways, they'll find exhibits. And one in particular we're talking about, 116 years of aviation history in Texas. Down another hallway, they'll find a lot of paintings. And many of those paintings depict specific experiences of air crews during World War II. There's one painting as an example of 2 B-17s. One was descending and didn't see the other one below it, and they actually locked up and could not separate. The crews bailed out, and the pilots actually landed the airplanes locked together, and they were taken captive as a POW. And on most Saturdays, weather permitting, we're flying our aircraft. During the year, we have special events where we have a big gathering. We were the home of aviation portion for Fleet Week. And we had about 15 military aircraft on our ramp and a lot of people coming through. And it was a fantastic time. In September, we do a Girls in Aviation Day focused on inspiring and encouraging girls with careers in STEM-based and STEM-focused careers and curriculums. We have camps going on right now throughout the summer. Kids enjoy those, and it keeps them active and engaged during the summer. It's a lot of fun.
You know, we're talking from Houston, a city often associated with Houston, we have a problem, and the space program. How does Houston fit into the broader story of Texas aviation that this exhibit tells?
Well, we're very close to Johnson Space Center. Ellington and Johnson Space Center are where the astronauts live and train. And they have a base here they fly their T-38s and other aircraft out of here. And so there's a very tight connection to Ellington/Houston and NASA and the growth. Across the field and around the airport here are some new companies that are developing some amazing technology to help us go beyond the moon, even to Mars, as well as developing a number of aircraft. So Ellington has become really the spaceport that it was designed to be. Tremendous number of things. So from a museum perspective, we want to look at and celebrate the history, but we also want to look forward into the future and inspire those. There was a tremendous amount of NASA history here. In the early 1960s is when NASA located here and did a lot of the training, and even Neil Armstrong with what was the bedstead happened here at Ellington. He was learning how to land the LEM on the moon.
And speaking of that history, let's look at the exhibit. So I see in this hallway, there's several different depictions of pilots and astronauts. Tell me how this came together.
Absolutely. The 130,000 square foot museum is not big enough to show everything. There's so much history. Houston is the home of the first few classes of the Women's Air Force Service pilots, WASPs. And they had a tremendous contribution during World War II. Then they moved from Houston to Sweetwater and were based out of there for a number of years. Pilot training all the way back to 1917 as they were training, and the aircraft was a very early tool, and they were just learning how to use it and how to train with it. Here's a picture of a SPAD. There's the Jenny was used, a lot of different types of aircraft. There's a lot of Texas military aces, meaning 5 shoot downs, and some of them multiple, that were from Texas. We feature a few of those.
I also see there's a tea set. I'm guessing this may have been from one of the commercial flight?
Exactly right. And as I said, we're not just a military aircraft. We also have a lot of civilian aircraft as well. These were things that would have been first class, and people dressed and acted differently back then when they travel. Today it's far more relaxed. Then men would wear suits and a hat, and women would dress up and have a hat and gloves perhaps, and so these would be items that would be in the first class, including china with coffee they would serve or whatever food they might have. In our DC-3, you can see that above the seats, there is no overhead bin. It was just an open tray, and it was called a hat rack. So they put soft items up there like a blanket or a hat, nothing that would bounce out and hit and hurt somebody. So it wasn't until later that they actually used a bin to close it and to store things. And so these are items just to show what were they like. It was also very common to pass out playing cards. Perhaps it was for a long flight or just a souvenir. But I can remember as a kid collecting wings that they would give me as a small kid on a flight.
And America's 250th anniversary invites us to reflect on the nation's achievements. Looking at this exhibit, what do you think Texans can be especially proud of when it comes to aviation's role in American history?
I believe Texas can be very proud of the contributions, not only from the manufacture of very special aircraft, but also the contributions the individuals made to our freedom throughout history. And here at Ellington, going back to 1917, which covers World War I all the way through till current, I think Texas can be very proud of the contributions that have been made both by individuals and corporations.
That's Jerry Scott, Chief Operating Officer at the Lone Star Flight Museum, talking with Houston Matters producer Laura Walker. Made in Texas, 116 years of aviation history is on display now at the museum. And still to come, we preview the next installment of the Texas Newsroom PBS Frontline podcast series After the Flood. Stay with us as Houston Matters continues on News 88.7 and YouTube.
I'm Christy Beer, and I'm a poet. I was writing poetry when I was really young, and I wrote some really pretty heavy poetry when I look back at it when I was 8 or 9 years old. And then for a long time, I didn't write poetry. I think once you start reading really good poets, I became more intimidated and thought, there's no way I can do this. And then I came back to it again. I think a lot of people, when they're just doing it for themselves, come back to it when you have a kind of a crisis in your life. And so when I was going through a divorce, I started writing poetry again. So I've been writing poetry now for 15 or 20 years. I tell a story usually. It's pretty autobiographical because I'm really writing in my poetry for myself and not to get it published. And so for me, it's a form of therapy and helps me work things out. Poignant moments inspire me the most, I think. And that can happen anywhere, just something that grabs at my heart. The title of this poem is Snapshot. Well, this was after my divorce and when I met my current fiancé. I really didn't want to go out with him. This was inspired by our first date, which turned out much better than I thought it would. Snapshot. You on our first real date, knocking on my door and looking more handsome than I'd remembered. Me, later, shivering on the Rice campus as you showed me your old haunts, then wrapped your arm around me, though I was still wary, having never dated a Republican before. After coffee, an unexpected trip to the psychic next door. The whole family watching TV around the dinner table at 10 p.m., the smell of sautéed spices still simmering in the air. Immigrants just trying to make a living like the rest of us. She took my hand and told me not to worry, that I was a good mother, and you were my soulmate. $10, please, which she tucked tidily into her Bible while I tried to overhear what her daughter was telling you, one bedroom over. Later still, although I had no intention, your light touch under my sweater catapulting me to a different dimension, a black hole perhaps, my lips devouring yours and sealing, it seems, our fate. I'm poet Christy Beer, and you're listening to Houston Matters.
From the ocean.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
1A, that's this afternoon at 2 here on News 88.7.
Support comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, presenting performances every weekend through November. Programming includes concerts, cultural celebrations, and events for families. More info at milleroutdoortheater.com/thisweek@Miller.
Last year's deadly flood in Kerrville was certainly not the first of its kind. Tropical storms and hurricanes have left their mark on central Texas across decades, including Tropical Storm Amelia in 1978 and Hurricane Harvey in 2017. In between them was another dramatic and deadly flood event in the 1980s, which was later recalled on an episode of the TV series Rescue 911 with William Shatner.
On Friday morning, July 17th, 1987, the small town of Comfort, Texas, became the scene of a heroic rescue and tragic loss.
That day probably was one of the most traumatic of my whole life.
We thought that the only people that were alive were the ones that were around us, and we were scared to death.
I know I'll never get over this because it's something that's going to be in my mind forever.
That and other flood events that preceded last year's in Kerrville are recalled in the second episode of the Texas Newsroom and PBS Frontlines podcast, After the Flood. Here to tell us more about it is Houston Public Media's Dominic Anthony Walsh, and from Kerrville, Sarah Grunau. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dominic, this is the second of this 5-episode series. What more can you share about some of the past flooding events that occurred in central Texas that are outlined in it?
Yeah, you mentioned Tropical Storm Amelia back in the 1970s. That left at least 27 people dead across the hill country. We meet a survivor of that flood in the episode that was just released. And then we flash forward a decade to the 1980s, 1987 specifically, when 10 summer campers were swept away in the hill country and passed away. And you know, after both of these floods, local officials actually began to react and be more proactive. And so we explore a little bit of that response.
How do these events relate to what we saw happen in Kerrville a year ago?
Well, in both cases, the 1970 and the 1980 flood, they were described at the time as unprecedented, catastrophic, record-breaking, and we heard those same phrases thrown around last year. Yeah.
Sarah, you're in Kerrville this week, catching up with some of the folks affected by last year's storms and flooding. Who have you spoken with so far?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of my time this week catching up with residents who were affected by the flood last year. To just sort of understand what recovery looks like for them right now. I also spoke with the Kerrville fire chief on what emergency preparations look like 1 year after the flood. I also caught up with Stuart Gross, a code enforcement officer who is actually spearheading a local ordinance to remove RVs from regulatory floodways. That's something that you'll hear a little bit more about in episode 5. So people here are spending this time, reflecting on that July 4th morning, but some residents like Stuart are struggling to revisit that trauma also. He, for example, would rather move forward. My colleagues at the Texas Newsroom also have been making efforts to reach Kerr County officials for a better understanding of the new flood warning sirens that have been installed along the Guadalupe River, but haven't had much success on that end.
That said, though, you did speak, as you said, with the Kerrville fire chief. Does the chief have anything interesting to say about whether the area is better prepared today than it was a year ago?
So Chief Maloney is actually part of a newly created flood warning committee that was created with representatives of Hunt, Ingram, and Kerrville. That group was created to sort of improve communications between emergency coordinators in the event of another disaster. But he says that establishing those concrete plans for improved communications and for the new sirens will still be in the works on the anniversary this year. But he does say that Kerr County is more prepared now than it was a year ago to respond to another flash flooding event in the area.
Dominic, aside from past flooding, what else does this newest episode of After the Flood get into?
Yeah, I mean, so, I mentioned how local officials became more proactive after the flooding in the 70s and 80s. They even installed a flood warning system, with gauges in the river that would measure river levels in real time and transmit those readings to emergency managers. So what happened to that? Last year we heard officials say there was no warning system. And so we explain how that system ended up going offline. And then, of course, we follow the story of Matthew Childress. We met him in episode 1, the father of an 18-year-old Camp Mystic counselor, Chloe, who was reported missing on July 4th. And so we follow his story through the next day, July 5th. And we mentioned this in the podcast. I would also just warn listeners here that it's a difficult story to hear, dealing with, the most traumatic moment of his life.
Of course. Dominic Anthony Walsh and Sarah Grunau are reporters for Houston Public Media. They are also part of the team behind After the Flood, a short-run podcast series from the Texas Newsroom, a collaboration of public media stations in Texas, including Houston Public Media, of course, as well as PBS's Frontline. Episode 2 is now available wherever you get your podcasts. Dominic, Sarah, thank you both very much.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
And that will do it for today's show. The Houston Matters team includes Michael Haggerty, Joshua Zinn, Brenda Valdivia, Mincho Jacob, and Laura Walker. Jared Carroll's our technical director. Remember, you can check out Houston Matters anytime, subscribe to our podcast for the audio, or visit Houston Public Media's YouTube channel for the video. Houston Matters will give way tomorrow for a special program called Ken Burns' How to 250, your guide to America's big birthday. We'll then be back on Monday to welcome another round of Houstonian pet peeves. You can send yours to us over the holiday weekend to talk@houstonmatters.org or call in and share your peeves live on the air Monday morning. I'm Craig Cohen. Have a happy, healthy holiday weekend, and a friendly reminder as we do celebrate America's 250th birthday, please do not shoot off any fireworks into my home. Thank you. And join us Monday for more Houston Matters.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This Independence Day weekend, it's a flavor-packed